Okay, this is a Farbrengen for Zman Simcha Seinu. It's Sukkos. And it's Zman Simcha Seinu. It doesn't sit there, right? Sukkos is the time of Yiddish Simcha. The time of Jewish joy is Sukkos. Everything in Yiddishkeit works this way. Everything in Yiddishkeit follows a pattern of Klal Prat. It has a specific time that prioritizes that idea, and then how that idea exists always throughout the year. A good example for this is the Sheish Zchiris, right? In the end of davening, we say every day Sheish Zchiris. There are other minhagim that say Asara Zchiris. You know that? There's minhagim that say Asara Zchiris. It's psukim. 6 times in Torah it says Zocher or Al Tishkach. So you have every day you have 6 remembrances. Each one of those 6 remembrances you do every day, and each one of those 6 remembrances has a day that you don't just remember it, but you live it, right? So every day you're supposed to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim, and Pesach you're supposed to go out of Mitzrayim, right? That's Narizal. Hayom El Niskarim, you don't just remember it, but you remember it in a way that you relive it. So V'nasim, it happens for you again. And the same is true each one of the Sheish Zchiris. We remember it every day, and then there's a time. So I guess it goes both ways. Every day you remember it, but there's a time when you live it. And it goes the other way also. Because there's a time of the year that you're supposed to live it. By the way, you're allowed to sit next to me. There's no minimum sheet of empty seats. I'm not planning on hitting anybody tonight, so you're welcome to sit. If you're worried about the cameras, don't worry, the camera is only on me. I feel like I'm in my own neighborhood over here. You know, it says when you get to the Beis HaMikdash, the Eibishter had no neighbors. You know the story in the Chumash, that the Eibishter told him to build a Mishkan, and between the Mishkan and the Machane was almost a Tchum Shabbos. Little bit less than a kilometer. Why? Because to be at Tchum Shabbos, they wouldn't be able to walk on Shabbos. The Eibush needs his own neighborhood. I'm not the Eibush. I don't need my own neighborhood. The Beis HaMikdash was the same thing. The Chazal say the Beis HaMikdash was not made Yerushalayim. Nobody had permanent. Yerushalayim is Eibush the city, so nobody lives in Eibush the city. But this is such an interesting arrangement. It's quite uncomfortable to sit here. It's just a full of Elam, but let me as lady. I don't know. You're afraid of me. I'm also afraid of me. You're welcome to sit next to me. I'll try not to punch you. We'll be friends.
Everyone wants to.
Yeah, but you're sitting anyway over here, so you can sit. Think about it. Think about it. Yeah. The Rebbe sat alone. The Rebbe sat for Farbrengen alone because that's the Rebbe. I need neighbors. Yeah, but nothing is going to happen. You look like a zirkin. That's chaveh. That's chaveh. Ah, very good. Okay, anyway, let's get back to this. So yeah, every day you remember Yetzias Mitzrayim, and you remember Matan Torah and all the things that you remember. And then once a year you have a Yom Tov. And it goes the other way also. Once a year you have a Yom Tov, and from that Yom Tov you have Chayas a whole year. This Yom Tov is Man Simcha Seinu. Sukkos is Man Simcha Seinu. Sukkos is the time for Simcha. The Rebbe has the famous vort that he brings about Kshem Mishenichnas Oder Marben Besimcha Kach Mishenichnas Ov Mematen Besimcha. It's a Mishnah Masechta Tainis. It's in Masechta Tainis. And he's medayik in the kishem, right? The kishem. What does that mean? A Jew is always besimcha. The shah is only how much? There's a regular simcha. There's the simcha of Adar, which is marbin, and the simcha of Av, which is mamatin. But it's never that there's no simcha. Simcha by Yidden is everything. It's a foundational idea. We'll talk about it in Mitzvah Hashem. Simcha is always the time. Simcha is alam all the zeit. But Sukkos is man simcha seinu. Sukkos is the season, is the time. And in plain words, that's the avodah, the task, the challenge, the dogosh, the emphasis in Sukkos is Simcha. It's this man Simcha saying, it's the time for Simcha. That's the way it is. Sukkos is the time of Simcha. It's man Simcha saying. And Simcha is an avoid. Everybody knows the Simcha is an avoid. It's a job, right? A lot of people don't understand how anybody could be happy b'klal. Some people feel like to be happy you have to be crazy or naive or both. A normal person who lives in the real world, the raya that he's normal, lives in the real world, is that he's miserable and he's pessimistic and he's afraid and he's defensive and he's making plans. If you're not that kind of person, felt by the epis, you're not aware of the challenges, the burdens of the reality. I don't know if you're aware. Oh, Rabbi Yankiv, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Right here. There's a man who interviewed the Rebbe many years ago, in the 50s. His name was Herbert Weiner, Rabbi Herbert Weiner. He was a conservative rabbi, Reform rabbi. But he was first of all, he's a very edel man, and he was very intelligent, and he really listened. He didn't come to the Rebbe to Cheppenzach. He wanted to understand. When he retired, many years later, came to the Rebbe for dollars, he wrote a book that's called 9.5 Mystics. 9.5 Mystics. It's about different Hasidic groups. It's a very guy who's a smart man. He wrote a Atif and Sefer. Nobody writes like this today because nobody has any brains today. Baruch Hashem, we're busy with things and with distractions. Rather, we're not intelligent. So when he came to the Rebbe by dollars to tell the Rebbe that he's retiring, the Rebbe told him, it's time to stop being a 9.5, it's time to be a 10. In other words, to be completely frum. So when they had his retirement party in the Reform Shul, from Temple, so he got up and he said, I have to disclose a secret to all of you. I want you all to know that I am a Shemitero Mitzvah. In my personal life, I am a Fruma Yid. So he said, Rabbi, we've known it for years. You thought you were hiding from us. Oh, so he had Yechidas with the Rebbe that are transcribed and published. Very powerful. He spent a lot of time with the Rebbe. In those years, if the Rebbe had time. And one of the things he said to the Rebbe is that he sees the Bachrim in the yeshiva. There's a whole story. He came to 770 and he hung around. He wanted to learn Bechavrus with one of the Bachrim. He wanted to see the yeshiva from the inside. And upon him, there were people who were a little bit nervous what would happen if he would get too much exposure. Rabbi Chadakov said to him, he hung around with the Bachrim. And Yerachavru said, he saw the inside. He saw, okay. He saw the Lubavitcher boys then for what they really were. And he said to the Rebbe in his Yechidus that he thinks there's something wrong with them. What happened to the fire, to the Jews? Hello? Oh, it works. He said to the Rebbe that there's something wrong with the Bachrim. Why? He says, anytime you meet a young adult, a grown person who doesn't yet have an established life, when you reach a certain age, you become that frozen fossil called the balabas. You don't want the world to change. I made it, the world shouldn't change. Yeah? There's two types of people. People who want to change the world, and people who want the world not to change at all. Who want to change the world? The people don't like the world they have. Who wants the world to change, never to change? The people like the world they have. So when you're a young man and you're starting out, you don't know how it's going to work out. You're very nervous and you're going to change the world. And then you make it, and then no chas v'shol, the world shouldn't change at all. The shaila is wenig lebendig, aber das täglich und das täglich. So he tells the Rabbi, you meet a young adult person, you see an apprehension. You see a nervousness, you see a fear. They don't know what's going to be, how are they going to make it, how are they going to establish themselves, yeah? I meet these boys, they're sitting a whole day learning Torah. They don't have a worry in the world. So he tells the Rebbe, I see by them a naviyat. That's how a naviyat, a naivete. He said naviyat. They seem very simplistic. They seem unnuanced. They don't appreciate what's going on in the world. So the Rebbe says to him, these naive boys are going to pick themselves up and move to the farthest corners of the world and establish Hamad outposts basically yesh mayayin. You can't do that and be naive. You can't do that and be naive. So why does it appear to you that they're naive? So the Rebbe says the reason it appears to you that they're naive is because the Rebbe said in Hebrew, they don't have a kera. Kufreish ein, they don't have a split. A kera, a spalt. There's no divide. In other words, people are torn. The Gemara sagt, a hurmin und a hurmin. A halber mensch geht dahin, a halber mensch geht ahead. Half the person is going here. These boys that Rebbe said, they're not split. They're whole. And because they're whole, they're simple. They're simple. But the reality is, the truth of the matter is that Ivdu as Hashem b'simcha, the emphasis is on the word Ivdu. It's an avodah. It's Zayin b'simcha, it's a job. It's an avodah. As it says, Take in the Rambam, in Sof Hilchos Sukkah v'Lulav, the Rambam talks about Simcha. The Rambam talks about Simcha. And by the way, this is just a Maimon HaMuzgir. Mistama, you know, in the Lubavitch is learned the Rambam, yeah? Mistama, you know that the Rambam does not connect Simcha's Beis HaSheyeva to Mayim. You know that. The Rambam's Simcha's Beis HaSheyeva in the Rambam has nothing to do with Mayim. The halachas of Mayim is in Hilchos Tmidin and Musafim. And the Rambam describes how they would go down to the Shalayach and they would draw the water, they're going through Shara Elyon and they would blow trumpets. The Simcha of Sukkos that the Rambam described, they used to make Tikkun Gadol, has nothing to do with Simcha's Beis. It's an interesting thing. The Rebbe spoke about it once. It's a Machlekes Bavli and Yerushalmi. That the Bavli says that Simcha's Beis HaSheva was water, and the Yerushalmi says that Simcha's Beis HaSheva is Shemisham Sheya V'Mruach HaKodesh. The Simcha of the Shev is the Ruach HaKodesh, and the Rebbe brings the Tetzin Chazal. Yeda ben Amite Nisnabe, but Yeda ben Amite became a novi by Simcha's Beis HaSheva. The Yoina we read about Yom Kippur, and the Rambam Paskins like the Yerushalmi that Simcha's Beis HaSheva, the Sukkah Simcha in the Beis HaMikdash was not about the water. It was about the Ruach HaKodesh. Okay, this is not the point. The point is that the Rambam talks about Simcha, that in Sukkot they would make a special place in the Edas Noshim, and they made balconies so the men should be separate and the women could be separate. And of course, as it says in the Mishnah and in the Gemara, most people did not actually participate in the dancing, because to dance in the Beis HaMikdash you have to be a person who could v'gilu b'rada. You could dance in the Beis HaMikdash, you had to be roy to dance in the Beis HaMikdash. So most people didn't dance, they watched the dancing. Who danced? Chassidim Anshe Maaseh, Bali Madrega, big people, große Menschen haben getanzt. He died again. Hello? Oh, he's back. Okay, this guy is a moody guy. He's intermittent. People stood and watched the dancing of Simcha's Beis HaSheva. They danced the whole night. Simcha's Beis HaSheva. So the Rambam brings this Simcha of Sukkos. That Sukkos was the biggest Simcha. And then the Rambam goes me'inyan li'inyan. In other words, once the Rambam talks about Simcha of Beis HaSheva, the Rambam then goes over to generalizing of Simcha b'chlal. And the Rambam writes that Simcha in Avodas Hashem is Avodah Gedolah. This is the last two halachas of Hilchos Sukkah. The Rambam talks about Simcha a whole year. And he says it's Avodah Gedolah, it's a very, Avodah Gedolah. Avodah Gedolah has two translations. Avodah Gedolah means it's very important, and Avodah Gedolah means it's not so simple. It's a nisha very poshet. To be b'simcha is not so simple. And the Rambam has a whole arichas, I'll talk about it maybe soon, where he discusses Simcha. And of course, in the Rebbe Hasichas on this also, in the world of the Rambam, the highest Simcha is Simcha Shel Mitzvah. And the Rebbe brings that according to the Ramah, there's even a higher Simcha. We'll see if I'll remember to get to it, which will be a big nest unto itself. Now is Man Simcha Seinu. As Man Simcha Seinu, you take Simcha b'kol Hashanah Kula. And we have to appreciate that Simcha is Avodas Hashem. Simcha is not psychology. Simcha is not mental health, although it's also mental health. Simcha is Avodas Hashem. Just like you learn in Davin, just like you have EMUNAH in the Meibishtin, you betach in the Meibishtin, one of the ingredients of a Maimin, one of the ingredients of a Yid who serves Hashem the way he's supposed to, is Avodas Hashem Terech Simcha. Okay, let's make a bracha. Ja, okay, so ich sage Niggin. Today is the Spiesen of the Middle Rebbe, and the Middle Rebbe is the Niggin. I would sing the Niggin of Moshe Rabbeinu, but I just don't know it. At the Sachnikun, Oz Yosher Moshe Bnei Yisrael. V'zei Sabrach Hashem Berach Moshe. I don't know what the tune is. The Machlekes is Sfardim and Ashkenazim and the Taiman, and everyone knows exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying. Oh, yeah, na na ma, yeah, na na ma, yeah, na na na, yeah, yeah, da 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 da. Oh, yeah, na na ma, yeah, na na ma, yeah, na na na, yeah, yeah, da 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 da. Oh, yeah, da 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 da. Oh, yeah, na na na, yeah, na na no, oh, yeah, la dum. Yo 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 da dum da 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 dum oh la da yo la da dum oh la da oh ya da 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 oh, la da da la da da la da da oh, la da ya la da da la da da la da da my la 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 yeah na na ma yeah na 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 yeah na 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 yeah da 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 ma yeah na na ma yeah na na ma yeah na 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 yeah da 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 ah yeah da da ma yeah na na ma yeah na 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 ah yeah da 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 ya ye na na ma ye na na ma ye na 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 ya da 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 ma ye na na ah ya da 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 ma ye na na ma ye na na ma ye na 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 ah ya da 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 ma ye na na ma ye na na ma ye oh la da ya da 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 oh la da da oh la da oh ya da 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 da. This is mashke. Maybe another cup. The drink from this is nicht as a edel, huh? No. Oh, very good. I only need one.